I'm Brad Sells, and I consider myself a sculptor. I do some furniture pieces, but mostly I do freeform vessels. I really like to use a lot of diversity in my work. I travel. I've been to South Africa and to Hawaii and done documentaries on those trips. Working woods like Akoa and red ivory. Well, I've been working wood since high school. Actually, I started out in a shop class, and I had an instructor who was building a banister, and I helped him build that banister. So I kind of fell in love with the wood lathe, and that's where I was introduced to turning molds, and later I went to the Appalachian Center for Crafts and did quite a bit of wood turning there, which kind of led me into the freeform carving. I set up a studio actually in the mid-90s in Knoxville. It's called Park Studio, with another colleague who was also a carver, and together we combined the carving technique with a green wood turning technique, and came up with a pretty unique process where we can make freeform vessels. And we started out fairly primitive, and over the years, my work just got more and more sculptural. I like the carving. I wasn't confined to a form. As a child, I remember sitting in elementary school, and I would take a pencil or an eraser or whatever happened to be in my desk, and I would say, hey, if there was some substance flowing out of my fingers, this is what I would have to do to make this shape. I really didn't get into sculpture until high school, and mostly ceramics. And we just didn't have a whole lot back then, and so I was pretty fortunate to realize that I had a natural talent there. It could have been easily overlooked, but once I tried it, I knew that it was something that just came easy to me, and that's a nice feeling, just to know that you have some sort of natural talent. The Hawaiians believe that their ancestors and spirits dwell in the forest, and I guess there's, I don't know, I just feel a real strong, almost spiritual relationship with the wood and trees in general. I really, I try to harmonize to some degree with the material that I'm working, and it's very easy to do that with wood. It's just it's got so much warmth and character, and I call it a selfless mentor. It definitely influences the shape, what's going on in the tree, and where is its strength, where is its beauty, and it varies in wood. Some woods have beautiful straight grains, some woods have nice crotch grains, and some woods are burly. But the challenge is to bring out the beauty, and sometimes it's not there, so you have to manipulate it a little bit. You bleach it, or you burn it, or you texture it, and you'll find that some woods respond to those processes better than others. So it's a constant experimentation. I compare to creating jazz music. I have a theme. I have a signature element I call an orbital, but there is a spontaneity to it, and there is some degree of improv. and so the forms can evolve as I'm carving, and that's nice. Well, the bench was a heck of a find. I had an assistant that worked with me for about 5 years, and we were out on his farm, and we came across a cherry tree that had split from the crotch all the way down to the ground. And I don't know what caused it. Could have been lightning, could have been wind, or it could have been an ice storm. But anyway, when we cut it, it just had this. First of all, there was just there were the crazy insects all in it. These hairy-legged, brightly colored things. I mean, it was just stuff that you normally never see. It was like this, I don't know, some sort of creatures that live where there's almost no light. So that was fascinating, but the texture where it just naturally split was so beautiful, and it was something that I knew as soon as I saw it. I said, I can't just carve that away. I have to leave that in the design. And so in making the bench, that was the goal, is to leave a good portion of that natural texture in the piece. The perfect feather grain of the cherry tree. That's what I was trying to show in more of a three-dimensional form. And it actually resembles, to some degree, a landscape. I appreciate that in that piece. And it's actually quite comfortable too.
Yeah.
So, the seats were modeled after, a tractor seat. And people are surprised when they sit in it at how comfortable it is.
Yeah.
The seats look small, and so some people say, "Oh, I'll never fit in that," and then they actually sit down and say, "Hey, it's actually a pretty nice fit." So, like I said, I've been to South Africa, and I had a really interesting conversation, and we did an interview in a documentary with a man named Credo Mutwa, and he talks about his people and how they worship the trees, and just that he talks about naturally how they take in a gas that we emit and they put out oxygen, which we have to have. So it's I see the relationship with man and tree is an ambiotic relationship, idyllic, assuming that we don't destroy all the forest. And then the same thing I found in Hawaiian culture. They feel that their ancestors and the spirits dwell in the forest, and a lot of times before entering the forest, they take their shoes off and they say a prayer, and they ask the spirits for permission to enter. And that's just a beautiful ritual. And I had the honor of hearing a native chant, and it was through Kamehameha schools. They brought us there and never would tell us whether or not we could go into this virgin forest area until we got there, and they asked, and they said that the spirit said that it would be permissible for us to enter. So we were glad about that, and it was the kind of experience that raised the hair on your arms. That's like I say, there's definitely a spiritual connection for me, and that's why I work wood as opposed to clay or
right.
Or whatever. I feel a strong relationship. When I lived in Knoxville, I lived in Knoxville for 5 years. I left Knoxville in 1999. But before I left, I worked with a local craftsman, traditional furniture builder named James Hooper. And I really didn't have the facility nor the know-how to make traditional furniture. I'd done some of it, but wasn't comfortable enough to take on a big project like that. You know, spend $1,000 on pretty lumber and take on that project by myself. So James and I collaborated on several pieces. I was more interested in design and learning, you know, some traditional woodworking skills, which he is absolutely a master at. And so it was a great relationship, and we sold several of the pieces that we made, but I decided to keep the dresser. It was one of my favorites, and you know, it's nice to have something from that we've worked together on. Now, on the bottom side of this cherry piece, when we were carving it, I found some metal, and I realized pretty early on that there were some bullets in there, and so a lot of it's burned, and so I carved 2 bullets. I think there's 3 bullets on the underside of the cherry piece. And of course they're all exploded, but you can tell just by the lead, and then there's a little brass in there, that that's what it is. It couldn't be that old, because the tree wasn't that old, you know, maybe 50 years. It was probably a 60 or 70-year-old tree. So that's pretty neat.